You're listening to DraftKings Network.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing, but an often overlooked secret is the businesses behind the business making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less cards going abandoned and way more sales going... So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skim uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard. All lowercase, BATARD. Go to shopify.com/Batard to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Batard. Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Steve Kerr is going to be on with us later in the show, and we're going to stay live the entire time on YouTube. It can't be a telethon, right? This isn't a telethon. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Are we still doing telethons?
Who put this in your head that this is not a telethon? You're going to air. You're committed to a block of several hours trying to do good. That is a telethon, if I've ever seen one.
I thought the telethons had to involve landlines and phone calls.
No,
there had to be texts, not texts, phone calls.
Is the tele for telephone or television?
Yeah. Guys, who cares? It's just like we're doing good work here.
All right, stop with the rage-filled
It's just
Abraham
like,
Lincoln.
I mean, come on. You're just sucking all the air out of this. It's been a really good show.
Wait a minute. I'm not disputing that it's a good show. I'm disputing whether or not this qualifies as a telethon.
It does. It hits the standard of we're trying to do good for an extended period of time. We're doing it live. There's a number to get involved for the people. What are we doing?
All right, the number, though, is not a phone number. It's a text number. It's
a text. That's a phone.
2024.
It's
but if you
phone.
if you do call that number, to Dan's point, it's not going to take you where you're.
We want
to
you
go.
to text it.
Yeah,
I'm going to see what happens.
We're
going to call it.
It's a good
Don't call.
idea.
It's 57568.
Now you're confusing the people, and I'm deeply upset by that.
Well, let me
This
clarify.
is important.
Okay, so it's...
It doesn't go through.
Stop! Do not
Did
call
you
the
hit
number.
an
Stop
area
telling
code?
people to call the number. Just
Do the area
guys, we have to
code.
be so very clear with what we're doing. This is not a time for bits. This is not a time for nonsense. This is a time for action.
Okay.
I'm gonna dial one.
You got to
first.
do one and then the area.
Stop
code,
doing
and then
serious,
57568.
guys. Hey, I'm starting to get mad.
Uh-oh.
All right. No, there are rules here, and you may not know it, but you're putting us in trouble. So please, just
7
Too many cooks.
Okay.
Too many cooks.
All right.
Too many cooks.
All right, don't need rage-filled Abraham Lincoln. I preferred sad Abraham Lincoln.
What
If you could
numbers did
stop
DAN spell out? I think you need to dial those.
shouting at
Billy,
everybody.
I loved your bit earlier.
I'm just trying to get people to register to vote here.
Not right now. Not right now.
You text Dan to 57568 or you visit headcount.org/Dan and we will get you a chance to win a sports vacation, okay? That's a pretty good prize. It's 2 tickets to any game you want to see, and that's going to get expensive for us depending on the one that you pick because there are plenty out there that are going to present themselves that are going to be big tickets. Travel and hotel, $500 for concessions and merch, and the more people you get to do this, text the word Dan to 57568, the more chances that you will have to win. I wanted to ask you guys from the football weekend, when you imagine the best feelings anyone felt playing football this weekend, I don't know how you top Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold going for 99 yards from the end zone, but what would you nominate if I said to you, you have to rival that play with the feeling that a human being felt doing something great at football over the course of the weekend? Because I have a nominee from last night. I have a nominee that I don't believe a lot of people would choose, that I believe to be as great a feeling as a football player can feel, and I would put it right up there with what Justin Jefferson did. But where would you guys go with this conversation?
I think when you consider the narrative, the fact that they drafted his replacement and he hadn't even been there for 5 minutes, Kirk Cousins had to feel really good last night.
Do you think that all of that felt as good to him in the moment, right? Not going home at night, but in the moment, as C.J. Gardner-Johnson felt on 4th and short, catching Bijan Robinson in the hole and stopping him cold in a way I never see running backs stopped by a smaller safety. Like the physicality of that, he certainly enjoyed it because it looked like as good a feeling as you can have in football to hit a man bigger than you so cleanly in the hole when he only needs to fall forward. And the running backs in that league all break that tackle, but that running back I expected to fall forward for a yard, and in a clean hole, he got stopped cold, plugged up by a safety who was smaller than him.
Yeah, I understand. That's got to feel great, but I must have missed the days of shows on First Take where they said, hey, Gardner-Johnson can't tackle the big one when the Friday night lights are out there, when it's prime time, when the bright lights are on. Can this guy make a tackle in the hole against a running back? It's not... I mean, he can live pretty anonymously. When he checks Twitter, he's not going to receive that one criticism. Kirk Cousins, when it's a primetime game, is the butt of all the jokes. It's a narrative that is actually, when you look at it in his most recent results, is kind of unfair to him because he's actually kind of turned that around from a win-loss perspective. But he and Drake London and his offense was a reason why they pulled that game out and left that Eagles crowd totally shell-shocked. It was like, when you consider what the narrative is about these athletes, it was like the most unlikely guy to do that, Kirk Cousins. And he did it, and I'm sure that flight back felt great.
If we're saying who feels the best leaving the stadium after this week's games, I'm going Aiden Hutchinson, 4.5 sacks.
He lost, though.
Not only did he lose, after the first quarter, he only got a sack and a half. Like he had 3 sacks in the first 11 minutes on the game. He was on pace to break Strahan's record in the game.
I'd venture to say Baker left that game feeling better about himself and his performance. The fact that he navigated that from Aiden Hutchinson.
I don't know if the rest of you watched the way that the Jacksonville game and the Detroit games played out, but those were disasters for the losing team. When you see, in the case, the Bucs are going to get a lot of credit for beating the Lions, but 1-7 in the red zone when the Lions had 400+ yards and 450+ yards and only ended up with 16 points. I know the Bucs are going to get credit for winning that game, but 1-7 in the red zone. I mean, come on, that's dreadful. And it's not what the Lions are expected to do this season. And Jacksonville had a ton of short circuiting and was playing against a Cleveland team that did plenty wrong, that deserved to lose that football game.
Has Trevor Lawrence won a game since like Thanksgiving?
He's 1-7 in his last 8, I think. Oh. And I'm not even sure if he played in that one. I think they're 1-7 in their last 8, and I'm not sure if he played in the one that they won.
All right, it looks like our state maps are being close to fully baked. Let's go to Steve Kornhacki for a play-by-play on Stugotz's map.
Thanks, Mike. Things are going really well out here as Stugotz is honestly nailing this map. Some of my favorite spots on this map, we have some Carolinas right over here. Some Carolinas, obviously Sirianni fired where Pennsylvania should be. But if you look at sort of the middle of the United States, we have Big Ten country right up here. The Heartland, a beautifully drawn heart by Stugotz. Big 12 country just sort of leaking down into the Lone Star State.
He's good.
Canton right here in the middle. And, of course, We have several different islands here in the United States. Several different islands. Of course, the Revis Islands, a collection of islands over here next to Gilligan and Rhode Island. And, of course, down here in the bottom left, Long Island. Stugotz has long celebrated Long Island, and that's where he believes it is on the United States map. But all that said, Dan, we do have some voter info coming in, people who have taken action through our website, headcount.org/Dan. As of 10 a.m., over 1,000 people had taken action on our site. 21% of those coming from our home state here in Florida. And how about this? Of our registers that were 4% or more of a share of the people who have taken action, 5 of our top 7 states are swing states, Dan. You had Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Michigan with at least 4%.
Florida's a swing state.
Florida can be a swing state if you lean into the Le Batard lean, Dan. That's what folks in the polls are not taking into account, the Le Batard lean. It's an opportunity if people continue to take action today, continue to take action. We look at this board, we continue to take action. You may just see the Le Batard lean affect the 2024 election. So everybody be sure to go to text 57568. Text Dan to 57568. Dan, back to you.
You were born to play this role as Steve Kornhacke. Pablo does not have a Kornhacke to guide and hold his hand here. Pablo, it looks to me like you're losing. It looks to me like Stugotz's map is exceptional so far. How are you doing up there in New York?
I feel pretty good. Whatever this is here, I don't know if that's a me problem or a them problem. I don't really know what's in between.
The middle of the country.
This is perfect. A Harvard guy not caring about middle America.
Look, I drew arrows: Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I got them. Identified Vancouver, British Columbia as a bonus. Are there bonus points here? Alberta, Canada. Identified that, the province of Alberta. The San Juan Islands was not on the map, but they should be. They're a sort of just like small group of land masses where I went whale watching for my bachelor party, and I grew an orca.
Okay.
Off
that
of
was
Washington State.
Unnecessary.
Right there.
Yeah, unnecessary bonus information.
Overcompensating.
How is his map looking, though? How do you, because Stugotz has the heartland. I don't know where Stugotz put Rhode Island, but he made it an actual island. And is it near Revis Island, which I think those are the Bahamas that he was.
No, it's
the
Hawaii.
Caribbean. The Caribbean.
The Bahamas?
The Caribbean.
Well, I mean, it's confusing, but it's Hawaii. Also, we don't have Great Lakes on this map. And that was just our own incompetence.
That was Cuba, I think, that he made Rhode Island, or did he make Revis Island is what he made Cuba. Okay.
It's also
Hawaii.
still Hawaii.
It's still Hawaii. It's just in a different place. You're going to have to get past this one. Listening audience, a lot has changed over our 20 years together. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite. Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. The only beer worth talking about is Miller Lite.
Although, but here, just so we're clear, this is a Miller Lite show.
I know it is.
And hey, Roy, out of curiosity, when you were winning your barbecue competition, I'm sure debates sprouted everywhere. But one thing that's not up for debate, the undebatable quality of Miller Lite.
You tell them.
Oh, it's
Things have
slow, by the way.
changed over the last couple of years, One thing that hasn't changed, great taste of Miller Lite. And another thing that hasn't changed, less filling. Only 96 calories per 12 ounces.
They sparked this debate way back in the 1970s.
The original light beer.
You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Dan Le Batard.
We didn't get to your guys' against the spread.
You're right.
I don't have it against the spread
well.
because I wasn't prepared for this segment.
You need an Ian in your life.
You have actively played defense against me today in a way that has rarely been this undercutting.
Stugotz.
Defense wins championships, baby. That's show business.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Again, I will remind you to text the word Dan to the number 57568, 57568 or visit headcount.org/Dan to register to vote or check your registration status and for a chance to win a sports vacation. We will get back to our regularly scheduled sports programming in a moment. Steve Kerr is going to join us in about a half hour, but I wanted to talk to Ari Berman here of Mother Jones Magazine because he's a national voting rights correspondent and he's the award-winning author of Minority Rule. It's a book about voter suppression, anti-democratic methods that are in our midst, and I want to thank Ari for being on with us here because it seems like a dangerous time with a lot of garbage in it that feels wildly unethical, illegal, and I'm going to say un-American, even though maybe it's terribly American. I'm not even totally sure about the history of this. I don't know that I could call it anti-American if I'm just hanging on to an ideal instead of facts, but Republicans in Georgia seem to be laying the groundwork to not certify the election if Kamala Harris wins. So, Ari, thank you for being on with us. And just how dangerous do you think these times are for some of this stuff that is happening? And is it American, distinctly American, or is it un-American to sort of gerrymander and tamper with voting the way that we are?
Hey, Dan. Well, thanks so much for having me on. And honestly, it's both. It's both very American and very un-American at the same time, because this country has a history of doing a lot of really fucked up things when it comes to voting, preventing a lot of people from voting for a long time, but at the same time, expanding voting access. So there's been this push and pull throughout our history between democratic and anti-democratic forces. And we're once again at that kind of tipping point today.
I will remind any of the 63 million unregistered Americans who happen to be listening or watching today to text Dan, the word Dan, to 57568 or visit headcount.org/Dan if you want to get involved with this process. Ari, I am told, because we are top 5 list obsessed, that you have a top 5 list of the ways that the American voting system is screwed up. Wow. Does that top 5 list, is it just 5? Or do you have some outside looking in?
I have some outside looking in. Excellent. And yeah, I brought a few top 5 lists because I wanted to make a good impression on my first time on the show. So the first OLI is that this is one of my favorite stats.
Can I help you real quick, just so that you know, because you haven't done this before and you want to make a good impression. Whenever it is that you give us that fact, you have to lay out so our erstwhile executive producer can hit a sound of fanfare to celebrate what it is. So,
okay, all right. So let's celebrate the first one. Okay, so the first one is, in Texas, you can vote with a gun permit, but not a student ID.
Okay, he already screwed it up. Yeah. Well, that's his fault.
That's the producer.
He killed the punchline right there.
All right, let's try it again.
It's a bit wordy.
All right, want me to say it again?
He's down the middle, Chris, and he's scared of all of these topics.
Tighten it up.
He doesn't. No, this is not his fault.
Get it right, get it tight, man.
It's Chris's fault, not Ari's fault.
Okay, I'm going to say it again.
Ari.
In Texas, you can vote with a gun permit, but not a student ID. Okay, that really says it all.
That is
okay.
Up.
That's worth a bleep. The second one that didn't quite make the cut. Because of a past felony conviction, 4 million Americans can't vote. So these are people that have already served their time, paid their debt to society, yet they still can't cast a ballot. And the craziest part of that stat is that includes 1 in 5 black men in Tennessee who can't vote because of a past felony conviction. Okay, the third thing that didn't quite make the cut. Since the 2020 election, 28 states, so more than half the country, have passed new laws making it harder to vote. So Trump tries to overturn the election. He fails. What do states like Florida and Georgia turn around and do? The first thing they do is change their voting laws to make it harder to vote, just like the former president wants them to do.
How common is that throughout American history? That just what you're talking about, the corruption and the overtness of what you just said.
Unfortunately, it's very common because if you look at most states at the founding of the country, only white men with property could vote, meaning that black men couldn't vote in most states. Women couldn't vote in any state except for New Jersey briefly. Many poor white people who didn't own property couldn't vote. Native Americans weren't even considered U.S. citizens. So for a lot of our country's history, a lot of people couldn't vote. And that's a sad reality. Now, we've done a lot to improve that, but we still have these legacies of voter suppression, of racism in voting that are still with us today.
Number 5.
Okay, I'm getting to the list. Despite the fact that you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to commit voter fraud, 35 election officials in 8 states have refused to certify election returns since 2020.
You guys really have your timing
basically,
down
thank you. They're already laying the groundwork for what Trump wants in 2024. We've already seen it in other elections since 2020, that even though there's no evidence of fraud in the system, you're seeing local and state officials not certify election returns. And that's what makes me really nervous about what might happen in 2024 in places like Georgia.
Number 4.
Okay. The United States is the only major democracy in the world where you can lose the popular vote and still win the Electoral College. This is a crazy thing that I think a lot of sports fans would have a big problem with. Second, that's not all. 5 of 6 conservative justices on the Supreme Court were appointed by Republican presidents who lost the popular vote and then were confirmed by senators who were elected by a minority of Americans.
All right, Ari, you really screwed that one up, Ari. You really screwed up the timing of that. We don't know if that was number 4 and number 3, or if it was a double prong.
Okay, that was a long number.
It was a double prong number 4.
Yeah.
It was a long number 4. Okay, I have a short number 3, though. Number 3. Out of 172 countries that are recognized as democracies, the United States ranks 139th in voter turnout. So we like to think of ourselves as the Yankees when it comes to democracy, but right now we're more like the White Sox.
Oof. They've won 3 in a row, though. The White Sox have won 3 in a row.
Okay, so there's still hope for American democracy.
Getting hot at the right time.
Don't look now.
Number 2.
Number 2. 80 million Americans who are eligible to vote in 2020 did not vote. So we had the highest turnout in 120 years in 2020, since 1900, and even still, 80 million Americans didn't participate.
We're kind of a disaster, huh, Ari?
I mean, it could be a lot better. Yeah, you'd like to think that if you had the highest turnout in 120 years, you still wouldn't have 80 million people decide not to vote. Okay, number 1, it's National Voter Registration Day, so this is the most important one. 231 million Americans are eligible to vote, but 63 million Americans, a full 27% of us, still aren't registered to vote.
Look at sad Abraham Lincoln back there. He's just so down on America and people and life in general right now. You would think that the worst moment of his life was the last one of his life when he was assassinated in a theater. But nope, it's looking that it is right now. Right now.
It was when I came on the show. That was
right.
the low point for him.
It was the Ari Berman segment. I will tell you again, the name of the book is Minority Rule, The Right-Wing Attack on the Will of the People and the Fight to Resist It. Let's get to your other top 5. What's the other top 5 about?
Okay. So after I just
Another
depressed the hell
one?
out of everyone,
Okay.
I do have some good news. All right. The top 5 ways to make it easy to vote, even when it seems really hard. Okay. Number 5. Drop off your ballot in any of the 30 states that are listed on screen. I'm told we have a graphic for this. Perfect. So request a mail ballot, drop it off. That's an easy way to do it. Number 4, vote by mail in one of the 28 states with so-called no excuse absentee voting. That means places like Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida. This is really important because a lot of polling places have been closed in recent years. There's long lines in voting, so voting by mail is really simple. Everyone's trying to make it a Democratic conspiracy. Dan, in Florida, this started out as a Republican idea. It was the Republicans who were pushing vote by mail because their voters were more rural, they were older, vote by mail was more convenient for them. So there's nothing inherently Republican or Democrat about voting by mail.
Number 3,
vote early in every state but Alabama, New Hampshire, and Mississippi. So in 47 states, you can vote early. This is really important because we vote on a Tuesday in November because that's when farmers used to bring their crops to market in the 1800s. It's a very antiquated system, so voting early gives people a lot more time to do it. They can do it on weekends, other times when they're not working, especially because Election Day is not a national holiday. Number 2, register to vote online in 42 states or become automatically registered to vote in 24 of those states. So the first step towards voting is getting registered, and you can do it pretty easily in most states in the country. And then the last thing is register and vote on Election Day itself. This is kind of like the one-stop shopping for voting. States that have Election Day registration have the highest turnout in the country because you can register and then vote at the same time. That makes the process work really easy. It's worked for a lot of years very well in places like Minnesota, where Tim Walz is from, and hopefully that's something that every state could eventually adopt.
Excellent information. I will tell you that you can find more of his reporting at motherjones.com, and the book is Minority Rule. You need to get better, though, at it's not the last thing, it's number one, Ari. You go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's
Top
not
five,
and
yeah.
the last thing, like I'm petering out. Like I mean, come on, like get it right. If you want to be invited back in order to do this again, I need you to know how the top 5 stuff works, okay?
Got it. You got some homework for next time.
Thank you. We appreciate the help and the work, the reporting and the writing. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
A reminder to everyone listening, again, including the 63 million unregistered Americans, as he said, 63 million unregistered to vote. Text the word Dan to 57568 or visit headcount.org/Dan to win a legitimate sports vacation. It is a game of your choice, and there's going to be a good game you're going to want to go to. Tickets are going to be hard to get. You get a chance to win a sports vacation.
If you're a pet parent like me, you know about Chewy. And when they say they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they are not messing around. Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands that Willow loves at the prices I love. And it gets shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. Whenever I bring Willow to work at the Batard show, I have to bring some of her favorite toys and treats with her. She loves liver treats, lamb hearts, and Chewy has all of it. It's so easy to shop on Chewy. You just search through their thousands of products, find what your dog likes, and then you can auto ship it, which is a huge time saver, and it gives you peace of mind that if you need some food or treats last minute, it'll be there in a couple days. Speaking of not worrying, Chewy has top-tier 24/7 customer service. If my pet or I don't love something, Chewy's 100% satisfaction guarantee lets me return it within a year, no questions asked. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, and right now you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com/Dan. That's chewy.com/Dan to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. Chewy.com/Dan. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
Hello, universe. It's Cynthia from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Let's be real. Stress is everywhere. I mean, what are my stressors? I don't know. Maybe Dan texted me at 3 a.m. to order him a costume that he needs tomorrow. But what if the secret to managing all this stress is Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers? This is a one-of-a-kind product. It's designed to reverse low levels of magnesium, which could be causing a multitude of other health problems. What sets Magnesium Breakthrough apart, it's its ability to maintain healthy stress hormones, balancing your nervous and hormonal systems, and boost the neurotransmitter that promotes relaxation and flow. In other words, it's like hitting the brakes on my body's stress response, helping me feel calmer and improving my quality of life. It's the only organic, full-spectrum magnesium supplement that provides all 7 essential forms of magnesium to help you truly manage stress and improve your sleep. Don't miss out on the most relaxing sleep ever with Magnesium Breakthrough. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/Dan and use promo code Dan during checkout to save 10% off. And if you subscribe, not only will you get this amazing discount and free gifts, but you will also make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed.
Dan Le Batard.
Cheaters never prosper.
Stugotz.
I ain't cheating.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Steve Kerr will be here in a little bit, and we're going to be live the rest of the way as part of National Voter Registration Day. I wanted to get to a couple of things, though, with you, Stugotz, because today is moving very fast. I think Keegan-Michael Key I think that's going to be newsworthy, what he said earlier in the show about the idea that he and Jordan Peele are open to the idea of a reunion and have talked about it, however lightly. I think people are going to get very excited about that.
It's going to come off very cynical, but don't you think that's the first question everybody asks him? Like, I don't think there's like a week that goes by in that gentleman's life where he's not asked, hey, when are you guys getting back together? I imagine he's addressed it on the record plenty.
I'm sick of your attitude today, Lincoln. Like, I'm really bothered.
Just say, hey, guys, do you think? I think I made news asking the most obvious fucking question ever.
I didn't say I made news.
He's just telling you it's old news.
I said
that's all.
he made news,
right.
not me. So,
yeah, you should send them. Yeah.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, asshole.
Wow.
Old, honest asshole Abe. Can't help but be honest at all circumstances, at all times. Can't help it.
Why don't you ask Kerr what it was like to win a gold medal?
Shot for your life with Kerr, huh? I can't wait.
Kerr is going
That's
to be
exciting.
here.
I know, it is.
I know what Shot for Your Life was with Lincoln.
Too soon, Dan.
I mean, God.
It's too soon, asshole.
Stugotz, I have what has been around here my favorite Donald Sterling sound that we have had, but I have in front of me something that I think might rival in terms of funniest things to have happened
Get
around
outta here.
Donald Sterling. I'm going to leave it up.
way.
All right, I'm going to leave it up to you whether it could possibly even come close to this bit of sound, which was Donald Sterling in public relations crisis mode going to Anderson Cooper ostensibly to fix the calamity that is at his doorstep, which is an owner's about to have his team taken away because he's a horrible racist. And he goes into PR spin mode with Anderson Cooper, and this is what happens during the interview.
What has he done? Can you tell me? Big Magic Johnson, what has he done?
Well, he's a business person.
He's got AIDS. Did he do any business? Did he help anybody in South L.A.?
Well, I think he has HIV. He doesn't actually have full-blown AIDS. But
Well, what kind of a guy goes to every city, has sex with every girl, then he catches HIV? And is that someone we want to respect and tell our kids about? I think he should be ashamed of himself.
Again, that was him in PR spin crisis mode.
Yeah, so you're saying you have something better than that?
I think to rival it. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it's possible to have something better than that. But I think I have something that might rival it. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio or the video. There is audio and video of what I'm about to read, but we don't have it right now. It's a deposition from a lawsuit against his former mistress. Okay, and so this is the quote from Donald Sterling. Well, I fool around sometimes. I do. When a girl seduces me and tells me all of these hot stories and dirty things and tells me how much she wants to suck on me and takes my shoes off and licks my feet and touches me. When I'm in a limousine, she takes all of her clothes off. The limo driver said, "What is going on?" And she started sucking me on the way to Mr. Kuhn's house, and I thank her for making me feel good. And then the attorney says, "Sir, the question was, is this your handwriting?"
Jesus.
I have to hear Donald Sterling say it.
I know.
To be honest,
No, we don't.
Right now, it's just your words, Dan.
I know.
But right now, the first sound that he played with Anderson Cooper still
Agreed.
stands until I hear Sterling say it.
Agreed.
Right.
Let's see if we can find that deposition
I'm
sound.
fine never hearing any of that again.
Okay. Come on, Billy. That was that. The attorney saying the question was, "Is this your handwriting?" That sounds like something that's made up. That sounds like something a comedy writer would write. That's a former NBA owner.
He's got AIDS.
Stugotz, speaking of funny, I want you to analyze the following.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the Bengals. The Bengals have started slow in recent seasons. I don't think it's just a magical ability a football team has to not try hard to win the first two games of the season and then figure out how to win after that.
They've done it the last 3 seasons.
Correct.
0-2 is what they've done.
That just doesn't mean that they'll always be able to do it, I don't think.
Right.
But as Mike mentioned the other day, they play Washington next, so perhaps they'll be able to fix it right away. But the thing that I find find funny about that is I don't think anyone noticed or cared outside of Cincinnati. But the NFL said the other day that in the Patriots game that the Bengals lost at home, hey, that whole thing on the touchdown from Gesicki that was overturned, we got that wrong. That should have been a touchdown. And instead of losing 16-10, you should have won 17-16. Never mind about that, 0-2. That's kind of amazing. I mean, we analyze this sport a lot. For that to happen quietly and for only one fan base to care at all about it doesn't seem terribly fair that the league is saying, yeah, we got all the technology in the world, got that one wrong. It doesn't help anyone to admit after the fact that you got that one wrong.
You don't think it helps the guys in the Bengals locker room to know the NFL thinks they won the game? I mean,
I do think it actually helps a little bit in that the fluky aspect of the season is how we've lost these games, both on bad calls. We should be 2-0.
Correct.
So turning this around is a matter of just playing our game.
Right. 2 moral victories. I mean, essentially.
I don't believe the Bengals have 2 moral victories.
I don't think you can have moral victories if you're relatively fresh off a Super Bowl.
But I do think it feels good after losing a game to have somebody, anybody, especially a league official, tell you, hey, you should have won. It would help me. It would. I'd feel better about it.
I think it ends up feeling almost worse. That a league official is confirming you should have won, but you're not allowed to win, and forevermore history will record that you were a loser that day, and it won't record that it's because we got it wrong. It will always look like you got it wrong.
If an NFL official says to you after the game you should have won the game, you should win the game. How's that sound? Like, if they have the audacity, now I'm coming back to your side of things here, Dan. If you have the audacity, listen, losing is tough enough. What you don't need to hear after you lose is, hey, you should have won.
Well, what happened? You just had the opposite.
You made a good point. Okay. I mean, yeah, that was then, this is now.
Okay.
I mean,
one thing it just further confirmed for me with that performance at Arrowhead is that the Bengals, for whatever reason, they just bug Kansas City. And that's why if anyone challenges them in that conference, it's got to be Cincinnati because there's something about them. Personnel has changed, but Burrow just finds a way to keep his team in that.
Not just that, it's doing it without Chase getting meaningful numbers, and it's throwing a bunch of times to Gesicki.
Like no T. Higgins,
no
too.
T. Higgins, yeah.
Do you have music for me that will allow me to go out to Steve Kornhacke again?
Huge updates coming in here at the 11 o'clock hour, Dan, as actions continue to take place on our efforts for National Voter Registration Day. Over 2,000, headed toward 3,000 folks have taken action by texting 57568 with the word Dan or going to headcount.org/Dan. And as we take a look at the numbers, interesting as the percentages lean different ways. Florida accounted for 21% of the actions taken. That's down now to 17.4%. And Florida's going to be the runaway victor in this competition when we're talking about pure number of actions taken as we're here in Florida. But if you're looking for the next 3 on our list, it's Texas, New York, and Ohio, and they're all hovering right around the same place. Ohio has actually taken a move up. Those 3 states separated by just 16 total actions thus far. So if we're competing for second place and you're in one of those 3 states, you're going to want to text that number. But as always, Dan, we know out on the West Coast, they're waking up a little bit later. You see the time difference. You see the effect. Our quickest riser from the 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour is the state of California, as Stugotz has marked Big Ten country. They now have over 5% of our actions taken. They were down at just 45 people registered, now 131. And of course, Dan, we got to look at the people who have not taken action thus far, who have not participated with these actions of texting 57568 with the word Dan. Those with under 5 individuals having participated thus far: West Virginia, Rhode Island, Idaho, Wyoming, New Hampshire, North Dakota, and Hawaii. So folks in those states, get the ball rolling. You do not want to finish last. And let's remember to register to vote or check your voter registration using everything on our screen right now. You can check out that information or our social media page at Le Batard Show. Dan, let's send it back to you. We'll have an update in just about an hour.
Just 63 million more people to go, Dano.
All right, you didn't bother with any of the math there that would have made that joke good.
We're putting a dent in the number here.
62,998,000 more to go.
Making a dent, we are.
It's still Steve Martin was prop comic. It's still early in Hawaii. It's still early in California. Wait till they wake up. We'll get that extra 62 million, and we will round
from the
it
Revis
out.
Islands.
Yes.
How's it early in Hawaii if it's right under Florida?
It's a good question. I don't know how it got under Florida. I thought that was Cuba there. I can't believe that Stugotz's map is better than Pablo's map. The heartland is there.
Yeah.
Big Ten country. What were you proudest of on your shitty map there?
Just noticing the very top above the United States, it just says hockey.
It just right over the border above the United States. I'm pretty sure that's just woodland. I'm pretty sure
Calgary.
I'm pretty sure that is all just forest fire, but it says hockey there. Yeah, that's what it says.
Not Lord Stanley, because no one in Canada has won the cup in years. I mean, how about they win a cup? I mean, they invented the game. Anyway, back to you, Dano.
Thank you. I can see that Steve Kerr is getting ready to join us here. So, Billy, you're smiling maniacally.
No,
is it because
we're registering so many people to vote?
Is it because Fangio is flailing and failing in Philadelphia? You've had a hatred for that old man for a while.
That's not fair. I have not hated him for a long time. I'm not rooting for his downfall, but man, he's not good.
I love Belichick just roaming around stadiums. This is fantastic. I am telling you, man. He's going to get that job. Philadelphia.
Is he doing that? He's just walking around the stadiums? Because I saw him on the Manning cast with earpieces in, so I wasn't sure where he was. He's just in Philadelphia?
Yes, yeah.
Also, on the Monday night countdown show, they simply couldn't stop saying tits.
Huh?
Hey, y'all, it's Mike, and as you know, it is football season, the all-consuming football season. You live it, you breathe it, and you want to watch it as much as possible, both on your TV, but also sometimes you want to be a part of that atmosphere. But guess what? You don't have tickets. It's a sold-out event. What are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you exactly what you do. You download the Game Time app. For my money, it's the best app on that secondary ticket marketplace for a ton of reasons. But one of the reasons I want you to check it out for is this awesome new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting your tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Do it yourself. Pick an upcoming game on the app. Browse through the seats. I'm telling you right now, you'll love Game Time Picks. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB de CV, copyright 2024, Próximo. Jersey City, New Jersey, please drink responsibly.